What's up, Magnetic Men Club? We are back here on another Friday with you guys with another topic all about masculine frame. I know we've talked about this one a lot in the past, but I think the last 4 videos that we've actually put out on the channel pretty much covered this a lot more in depth. So we wanted to recover the topic and talk about some of those things a little more in depth too, because obviously topics change over time. We learn, discover more things. We see more patterns in our coaching program, and we just want to bring that stuff to you guys so we can really help you guys on the next level. I'm Chase. Got my good friend Jared here.
Hey guys, Jared. Hope everyone's well. Sorry, I got like this frog in my throat. Just left the gym. I never take pre-workout. And I was just telling it was weird. I was just telling my girlfriend I took it yesterday for the first time. I don't even know. I had to get some stuff, so I took some pre-workout. Because every time I go to the gym, it's always later in the day, and I'm just dragging ass. So I'm like, okay. So I tell the guy, I said, I want a pre-workout, but I don't want the stuff that's going to make my freaking ear hair like just boom, like come up. There's some that's like crack. Well, he's like, yeah, no, this one's fine. He's effing lying. I took the stuff. I'm higher than a kite. So today I was like, all right, I'm going to cut it because I couldn't sleep last night. I was like, fuck. Anyway, so I took half of it. As soon as I drank it, I felt great. I got this dry cough like I'm a crack whore now. I'm like, I can't stop coughing. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I might not be taking pre-workout anymore. I might just have to suffer through it.
I feel it for sure. I know my brother brought me some pre-workout earlier today too, and I'm like, oh my gosh, man, I don't know if I can work out with that stuff.
Whoa, man.
I don't know if I need that much energy.
Maybe I should just go back to cocaine and just
there you go.
It's a quicker hit, you know, it's in and out. Guys, I've actually never done any drugs in my life other than marijuana twice. But anyway, whole different subject. But we did, I think
sobriety, man, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like Chase said, I think the last 3 or 4 videos, I wanted to kind of segment out. It's all frame. I mean, basically the biggest part of social dynamics for a man is having a strong centered frame. Now you have frame, which I talk a lot about. And the videos, I started introducing a topic that we'll actually reintroduce today. And now you have frame control. It's one thing to have frame. It's another thing to control it. And so this video, we're going to talk a little bit more about why it's important to have a good frame. While it's important to understand social dynamics, it's also important to understand, not just for females, but for other males, why they're saying something, why they're positioning themselves in such a way, because we all have frames. And whether you like it or not, anytime you enter into somebody else's frame unwillingly, they won. So you have to understand when somebody talks to you or when somebody says something to you, whether it's a guy or a girl, whether it's a boss or just some douchebag on the street, it's a battle of frames.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, would you call it a battle of frames? Absolutely. That's exactly the way I think it's going, for sure.
Yep. And so the guy, we all know the wildly emotional guy who flies off the handle and he's beating his chest. He's really pissed off. Well, that's actually a very weak man. He has no frame because he can't control his emotions. He can't control what's going on around him. So he acts like a fucking toddler, basically. That is a man who he has a frame. It's just weak, and he doesn't even know how to control that. So this is part of what this channel teaches you, is not so much to be stoic. I don't really like that term, but to be centered, to realize that it doesn't matter what forces are around you, as long as you're grounded in your own masculine, strong frame, and you can control that, chances are you'll might not win every frame battle, but you'll understand what people are doing and you can respond accordingly.
So that's why I like Robert Greene's book, like 48 Laws of Power. He talks a lot about those different things, actually. And like he talks a lot about being strategic with it, because there are times when you are in a situation where somebody holds more power than you. Without a doubt, they do. and you got to please them to a certain extent, but it also makes you more influential in their corner as well. The more that you move through that, it gives you more power by default too. And so it's understanding, I guess, the different situations that you're in. But I think any kind of relationship, anytime you're dealing with anybody, it is a battle of frames, no matter what. And you're always just in that battle for more and more power. Mm-hmm. And realistically, if you're trying to follow somebody else's frame, I think like in today's day and age, a lot of guys will follow like mass media. Like they try and model themselves after Arnold Schwarzenegger. They try and model themselves after James Bond, all that kind of stuff, because they don't really have those male role models in their life. And so they kind of don't really know what a masculine frame looks like, or even that there is a masculine frame. They don't even understand what a frame is because they're so unintentional with things. And I think they just don't really understand what their values are. So if I'm building up my frame, it means that like when you mentioned stoicism and you don't like stoicism. And so it's like, I get that because that's preference. Like if you're going to follow into like whatever stoicism says you should do, then you're following somebody else's frame. Like by default, you're following something somebody else put out there. And if you don't agree with it, you have to be vocal about that. It's all about being vocal about those different things, as you mentioned in a couple of the videos and stuff too. And so you've got to stand up for your values. In order to stand up for any values or any beliefs, you've got to understand exactly what those things are.
Right. I think probably the first thing, I don't know if I ever asked you, what is your interpretation of frame? Everybody knows mine. I've talked about it enough, but what is yours?
Yeah, like I said, it's really just kind of exhibiting those traits. Like I think masculine would pretty much be embodied like leadership, assertiveness, confidence, standing for your composure, being non-reactive in situations. Like nobody can poke at your emotions. They can't get to you. It's a steel trap. And so you're all about your values. You're all about your beliefs. You don't just agree with people. You don't just give in to things, and you don't. You stand for what you believe in, right? You stand up for your people and all that stuff too. You lead your people. And so that's really what masculine frame comes down to for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think when you're talking about, so again, there's frame, and I think frame is more of, I guess in a way it could be your programming. So a lot of it is set on your beliefs, and your beliefs are programmed into you very early on. And also your values. So it's your beliefs, values, and perspective on how you're actually interpreting reality. So everybody has different frames. It's how you're interpreting your reality. And then what you're saying is it's the same thing, but now you're talking about frame control. So you're interpreting, like you might tell me right now, I don't know you. And I know you're 6'4". You're a bigger guy than me. Here's a perfect example. I don't know you. You are at the pool, okay? And you're 6'4", you're hanging out with your guys, and you yell out to me, "Hey, buddy, nice swimsuit. Who bought that for you? Your mom?"
Right.
Okay. Now what's happening is I'm interpreting it one way. You might be being a douchebag, trying to be funny, trying to create a rise out of me. If I have a strong frame, I'm interpreting it, number one. Okay. This guy's with his friends. I don't know him. I'm not in this area. Now I have to be careful, okay? I'm understanding my reality. I'm understanding that there's 4 of them, there's 1 of me. Yes, he's probably being a douchebag. Maybe he's drinking. There's different ways to handle that. That's now frame control. Do I run over and beat your ass? Do I laugh with you? Do I anything that I do on how my interpretation is either makes me one up your frame, agree with your frame, and enter it. So it's how the individual's interpreting that reality. And that's based through their values, it's based through their beliefs and their own perspectives. That to me is the essentialness of what frame is. Did I cut you off? Did I lose you?
I think it cut off for a second there. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but
yeah,
I think we're still going.
Yeah, so everybody has a frame. I mean, again, whether it's very weak, maybe you were born into a single mom and you were raised by women,
Right.
you might have a weak frame. That doesn't mean you're a weak person. That means you've been programmed to think like a woman because they're telling you their programming. So it's up to you to now expand your perspectives, expand your beliefs, again, get around men, of course, and so that you can expand your frame. Your frame is nothing but the fence for which you've been programmed into, really. And it's up to you as a man to question those beliefs, to question those perspectives and say, is this true? Am I thinking for myself or am I being programmed? And a lot of people who don't have strong frames have been programmed that way. And you can absolutely, in our school platform, I think I did 15 freaking videos for you guys for $7 a month. It's over 15 hours because each video is an hour. And I break down step by step by step by step, 15 videos. If you watch those and if you digest those, you will have a very strong understanding of what social dynamics is. You'll have a very strong understanding of questioning everything and everyone around you. Are they for me? Or are they against me? All of these things will help develop you into the man that you need to be in order to level yourself up. So if you have no frame, you do, it's just very weak. And for $7 a month, I'm going to plug it again.
Yes.
Jump into that program. It's linked down below and start those videos. You're never going to find a better deal than this. There's only 50 people I'm allowing in for $7 a month. After that, we're jacking up the price. So,
the price is going up at the end of the month. Whether there's 50 people in there or not, the price is going up at the end of the month. So make sure you guys get in before that. If you've been on the fence or anything like that, just
perfect. So,
and
yeah, sorry, you cut off again.
Yeah, that internet, man.
So that's kind of where I was talking about. You have frame and frame control. So I just want to make sure people understood that there's a huge difference. The way you control your frame is a direct result of your strong frame or your lack of frame. And
so I mean, like even for me though, I mean, I've experienced a lot of that stuff in my life. I've gone from being a very weak man to being stronger in where I'm at. Right? It's a lifetime journey. It's not something I'm ever going to claim like, dude, I'm alpha. And all that stuff. Anybody who tells you that they're alpha, it's most definitely not alpha. Right. And so really, I mean, that just comes through, right? So if I'm walking around and somebody else feels like they're inferior to me, it's because I have a strong frame. It's because I'm walking around and I'm putting myself out there exactly the way that I need to. But if I'm interpreting other people that way, I walk around somebody, oh, that guy's way bigger than me, and like I'm beneath him, you know, and like you kind of position yourself that way. And so really, it's how do you position yourself? What do you think of yourself? That's going to be a big part of this because you're going to weigh everybody else to that. You're going to be like, no, this person's above me. This person's below me, that kind of stuff. We're all doing that anyway. How many people are you placing above you most of the time? Like, are you just conceding to everybody all the time? Like, oh, whatever you want to do. I don't care where we eat. I don't care what we do. I'm not working out, none of that stuff. Like, I don't want to go do that, this, that. And you're sitting on your ass most of the time. Then, yeah, sure. Like, you're probably going to concede most of the time. When you end up in a relationship, you're looking for a mother, most likely in most cases. You're looking for somebody who's just going to take care of things for you. You know, set up your appointments and cook for you, do all your laundry, everything mom would do. You know, it's just not realistic. When you end up in a situation like that, she's not going to have respect for you. There's no way she's ever going to respect you that way.
Right.
It might be good for a minute. And so it really comes down to you being purpose driven, being on your path all the time, and really being serious about what you think of yourself, what your personal values are, and what your beliefs are, because that's really what's going to set that frame for you.
Right. Absolutely. And a lot of the times, like I said, everybody has a frame, whether yours is weak or strong. Everybody can shore it up. Even somebody who has a strong frame can always make it stronger. It's good in a way if you have a weak frame because you have such a low barrier to entry that anything you do is better. But one of the sure ways to understand or ask yourself if you have a weak frame is anytime there's a conflict, or an argument between two people, it could be you and a guy, you and a girl, whatever it is. If you're always conceding in that argument, like, oh, you're right, I'm wrong, or maybe it's to a girl, you're going to agree with her so that hopefully she likes you. That, by definition, is you have a very weak frame. You are going along to get along. And that in and of itself creates
a codependent cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice guys.
Absolutely. Nice guy syndrome. People that have weak frames. They're very passive in their ways. They're very kind of laissez-faire about what they do. And they don't mean to be. They just don't know. They've been programmed that way. I truly believe all men have been programmed. Now, there are some men that are more aggressive, but you can still be very beta-tized and aggressive beta. You can be a very aggressive, too aggressive. That means you can't control your frame. Too passive means you don't have a frame or it's very weak. So the very first thing you need to do is figure out, okay, where am I on the spectrum of my frame control? Am I passive in everything I do, or I'm wildly too aggressive? Again, I start about the guys that, my God, you say one wrong thing to them and they fly off the handle like little girls. They have very weak frame, just like the passive guy. You want to become assertive. You want to be in the middle. An assertive man is a man who knows who he is. He knows when to assert himself in a situation. He knows when to tell somebody about his opinions, his thoughts, or what have you. And he then inserts himself into the situation. But then he knows when to back off. Then he knows when to get back into his base level. So that's where I'm at as far as strong frame control. You use it when you need it, and then you kind of put it back away when you don't need it. You don't need to be telling the world every day how awesome you are. Guys that do that tend to have a very, not only a weak frame, but they actually have a very, what's the best word for it? Limited mindset on who they are. Okay. They're trying to beat their chest and tell the world how amazing they are when they don't even believe it themselves. I see this a lot, like on social media, and I actually see it a lot in some business owners lately where they have some wins, they do pretty well, and then they tell the world how awesome they are, and then something happens in their business, a downturn, and then they act like little children. I can't believe it, I had it all, and the government changed this or this happened. They blame everything else, they basically blame everyone else on the situation but themselves. And so the very second thing I need you to understand is everything is your fault. In order for you to have a strong frame, you need to take ownership of everything that goes right in your life and everything that goes wrong in your life. Because if you abduct responsibility on things that go wrong in your life, you no longer have control over them. You gave control over my ex dumped me. You gave control over my ex-husband did this, whatever. You're giving them the responsibility. And then that, by definition, because you gave them the responsibility, you also gave them the frame. Whether you know it or not, you entered into their frame. Okay, so everything that you do, right, wrong, and different, everything that goes right in your life or wrong, it's your fault. And that's what I need you guys to understand. That's the second thing to start developing a strong frame, is take extreme ownership on literally everything that you do in your life. I think Chase, for you guys that know it, he's having some internet problems. I see him in the background, but I'm not sure if he can
It
get
might
back.
be good. Is it good now?
Now it's good.
Okay, no, it was completely gone for a minute there. I don't know what happened. My internet said it was gone. So Mexico, man, I live in Mexico, so that's something we do. You move abroad, you move to Mexico, and you start to discover that you got to have patience. You got to have patience. You got to really have that frame for sure.
Yep. Well, I just kind of finished with the second part of having a strong frame, and that's taking ownership of everything that goes right and everything that goes wrong in your life. You can't celebrate your wins and abduct responsibility in your losses to everyone else, because when you do that, you actually give them the power. You give that situation the power, and then you have no frame.
Well, see, like I think a lot of it comes down to what we think of ourselves. Take fapping for instance. Like we've done a lot of videos on this. We've covered this topic pretty extensively. But why is it important not to fap? Like, what's the most important key reason? That's because you feel like a piece of crap when you do. Mm-hmm. It's because you don't respect yourself when you do. It's not that it's bad for your health or bad for anything like that. It's just the fact that it hurts your self-image. It hurts your self-esteem. It brings it down in the dumps. And if your self-image and your self-esteem are down in the dumps, you have no ability to hold any kind of frame. And so that's what that comes down to. Why do you want to stop playing video games and eating snacks and start going to the gym? Well, because you'll feel good about yourself when you do. Why do you want to stop fapping? Well, because you'll feel good about yourself when you do. You'll feel a lot more confident. You'll feel like you're showing up. You'll feel stronger and like you have frame. You'll feel like you're better than the people around you to a certain extent. I'm not saying to cross the line over into arrogance. I'm just saying be really confident and authentic in who you are. And so that's really what it all comes down to. The way to be confident, because like I said, if you're fapping all day and you're sitting around eating chips and you go outside and girls kind of look at you like, oh, yeah, I mean, whatever. But when you're walking out and you're confident, you're like, dude, like, I know I look good. I've been at the gym. I've been getting shit done. Like, I feel freaking amazing right now. Yeah. And you've dropped all those bad habits. Like, you're proud of yourself. You're like, dude, I'm freaking getting it done. I'm getting way more done than everybody else around me. When you feel that way, you just naturally have that greater frame. You just naturally position yourself above the people around you. When you're positioning yourself below the people around you, you're just going to enter their frame and concede.
Right. Yep. And again, a lot of people, if they don't come into your frame, you automatically go into theirs. There's no neutral. There's no we keep our frames separately. In every battle, somebody's going to win. And I know people are like, oh, everything's a battle, Jared. Fuck yeah, everything's a war. And
it's all of human history, man.
It's a war of resources, a war of women. Everything is a battle. It doesn't mean it has to be a bad thing. It just means you need to understand it. And once you understand social dynamics, you can also call it relationship dynamics. It's the same thing. Once you understand it just a little bit, do you know how little people understand this? People just go do all through their life like bumbling morons. And they don't understand why their girlfriend doesn't respect them. They don't understand why their boss is always picking on them for some reason. They don't understand why the dudes down the street are always picking on them. They just don't get it. But here's the thing. They don't ask questions. They always think, well, everything is the effect of my life. Am I the cause of this? You're the cause of it. Because you're not recognizing that you don't have a strong frame, you're not doing anything about it, you're directly causing your own demise. And so learning social dynamics, relationship dynamics, whatever you guys want to call it, is the single biggest thing you can do to expand all aspects of your life, not just dating. It has nothing to do with just getting girls or girls getting guys. Matter of fact, girls, if you're watching this, if you don't understand social dynamics, chances are you probably don't have great relationships either, because it works the same way. This has nothing to do with just guys. A frame is for a guy. A frame is for a girl. So understanding those social dynamics, this is something, again, on the school platform for $7 a month. We have that. If you really want to up this up, you need one-on-one coaching, because you're not going to learn this on your own. It's just not out there. You can't go to college and be like, oh, I'm going to take a course in this. No, you need one-on-one coaching. This is something I can help you with. I take a very limited amount of people because there's a lot to do. But you can go on YouTube. You can get some self-help books. You can just start Googling social dynamics, and it's a huge subset of interrelational dynamics and how you relate to everybody else. And this is a huge topic. And if you don't at least understand it, if you don't at least scratch the surface of this, you're going to be lost. Like 80% of the population completely lost, not understanding why shit happens to you, not understanding why you keep dating the same guys or you keep picking up the same type of women that are out there. This is all related.
Well, your brain's wired that way.
And it's directly from your frame control based on your frame that you were programmed into. So those two things, this is the biggest thing. This is why I did 4 videos literally in a row about really frame. It all came to frame. How to be a good asshole. People are like, oh, that was a funny title. And then they watched the video and people are like, wow, thank you for that. Because people use the word asshole around like it's a bad thing. I'm proud that people say you're an asshole. Yeah, great, thanks. No problem.
You're an asshole when you reject other people's frames. That's really what it comes down to. Like being about your frame and only your frame, rejecting other people's frames. The second you reject somebody else's frame, you're an asshole. Like they're immediately in their head, like, oh, you're just an asshole. I died. Because they're not willing to accept your frame. You're not accepting theirs. That's okay. Go separate ways. No problem. Okay, cool. Have a nice life. And so that's really what it all comes down to is the fact that, like, okay, I'm all about my frame all the time. There are certain situations when I have to enter somebody else's frame, but it's not like I'm not dropping my frame. I'm still there. I have my frame. I'm trying to make sure this goes to my advantage. That's the only reason I'm there. I'm not just conceding somebody just to be a slave or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm going to hold my frame, but I have to enter their frame. Like when you have a boss, they're your boss. There's nothing you can do about that. When you're talking to somebody who has more power than you, you have to enter their frame. Like you really have no choice. So you have to act well. And really how you present yourself is all of it. Like this is your personal brand. This is how you're putting yourself out there. Find somebody compatible, especially when it comes to women. Like, yes, they have to have their frame too, but if they're coming into your life, they have to enter your frame. Otherwise, they're going to try to force you to enter theirs. They're going to see what they can get away with. They're going to see what they can push back. They're going to push on your boundaries. It's important to understand what your boundaries are so that you can push back. You can say, no, that's not okay with me. No, you can't stay the weekend. No, we're not doing this yet. We're not moving in together yet. We're not doing, because the problem is if you don't do that, if you don't sit down and establish these things, when she asks you to move in, you're like, yeah, let's move in. Let's do it. Let's go. And you just give in to everything because you're trying to make her happy. And you do that with everybody. It's not just women either. Like anybody else. Like you do the same thing for your boss. Your boss is like, hey, dude, can you come in on Saturday? I don't have any coverage. And you go, I mean, yeah, sure, I can come in because you're trying to make the boss happy, right? But if you really don't want to, if there's something else you have going on, you had some plans on Saturday, like, dude, I can't come in on Saturday. It's not happening. I'm sorry. I'll go find another job if I have to, but I'm not coming in on Saturday. It's not happening.
And you could argue if you had a strong enough frame, your boss probably wouldn't have asked you to come in Saturday. He'd pick on somebody else.
They just know. They know that
guy's not going to come in.
It's not going to happen.
It ain't going to happen. But, you know, you mentioned dating. Now, of course, how does this all relate to dating? Because most of the people I coach are guys who've gone through a divorce, bad breakups. They're trying to get back out into dating. And you mentioned the back end part of dating as far as move in with me and having a strong frame. Well, it actually starts more so on the front end because in order for a woman to agree to your terms or enter into your frame, by definition, your frame has to be stronger than hers. I'm just going to give you a very brief so you guys can understand this. You see a cute girl at a bar, and she's kind of with her friends, you're with your friends, and you walk up to her, okay? You just, by default, walking into her, there's a clash of frames, okay? This is why they shit test. She might think you're cute. She might say, hey, I'm Jared. What's your name? We'll use Beth. I don't fucking know. Whatever her name is. Okay. She might think you're cute and you guys are kind of bantering. And guess what? She's going to shit test you. Hey, I like your shirt. Did you mess with you? It's a little small on you or something like this. That's a shit test, but it's a frame test. If you fly off the handle and say, what do you mean? I work out. This shirt's custom made. I don't know. She already won. She just won that frame battle. because she's making a little fun of you, and you took it to a whole level it didn't need to. If you were a little bit more like, yeah, cool, thanks, my mom picked it out for me, and you kind of messed with her a little bit, and she agreed, like, okay, he can handle this little bit of banter. She starts going into your frame. She starts realizing, okay, I'm not moving this guy. This guy, I've shit tested him a couple times. I'm not moving him. It starts that small. This is how small this is. These little things, these are frames of battle between women. Again, I used Chase at the pool, making fun of my bathing, whatever the hell I was wearing. These little battles happen all the time. And depending on how you respond to these battles, you might not know it. Well, you lost that. And you might think you won and you lost it. So again, social dynamics is a huge thing. Interpersonal dynamics, relationship dynamics, it's all the same shit.
It's like, how might her frame be stronger than yours? Or why would her frame be stronger than yours? It's not that she's super masculine or anything like that. I'll tell you, one way is she is more clear on what her values are. She is more clear on what her boundaries are. She has taken time to understand what her values and where she's going, what her direction is. She's more clear on it than you are. If you're not clear on those things, you are always going to give into somebody else's frame, especially if they are more clear on those things than you. And so that's the thing too. You end up working for people just like that. Mainly, he's your boss because he's more clear on his values. He's more clear on his boundaries. He's more clear on what he wants from life than you are. And everybody who is more clear on those things than you are has a stronger frame than you do, has a more unshakable frame than you do. And until you get clear on those things, you will not have it. It's just that, I mean, you might clash with other people who aren't clear on those things. Most people, I think at least 97% of people are not clear on those things. They're just kind of wandering through life, drifting, letting things happen to them. They're so unintentional. This is most people. And I'm sure a lot of you guys fall into that group, right? And so realistically, how do you overcome that? Well, sit down and become clear on those things. Join our school program, and we have resources in there for you to do exactly that, to get you started on that path. And if you need to book a call with us, then book a call with us. Let's talk about it. We'll give you guys a personal plan. That's what our program is all about. And so that's why we're here. That's exactly why we're teaching this stuff. But for instance, if she's more clear on her values and stuff like that too, like maybe she wants somebody who makes money. Maybe you don't make that much money. Maybe you're dressed down a little bit and like you look like you're kind of a scrub. You walk in there, she's going to shit test you immediately. It's like, look at you. Why am I even giving you the time of day? You're not even compatible here. Like, oh no, dude, I'm an aspiring international hand model. I'm about to be rich.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, don't go and look up like different sentences and different like text messages and stuff that you can send her to try and be more alluring and that kind of stuff too. It all comes down to authenticity. You just have to be more you than you are trying to be anybody else. And it's really understanding who you are that makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point, because I think you mentioned earlier, excuse me, guys, God, my throat was still. I wonder if when I was drinking it, some of the powder like went up my nose.
Yeah. I don't know. Mixed up good enough. I've had that happen. Absolutely. Yep.
You mentioned earlier a good takeaway was guys not really understanding who they are. And so when they go, here's a perfect example, and I got no beef with the guy. I actually agree with 99.9% of stuff he has, is Andrew Tate. Why is he so alluring to young men? Well, because he's a platform for young men. They don't really know what's going on. Most of the time, their parents, their dad really isn't around. And the dads that are around are kind of beta-fied. They're kind of pussified. Their wife probably runs the show. And here comes this guy who's rich, a kickboxer. He can talk. His brother is very good looking. He has it all. And now here's what happens. They try to emulate him and not listen to his message. His message is sound, but then they try to act like him when they don't have his money. They don't have the women he has. They don't live in Romania like he does. And so what happens is they start acting like assholes. Again, they might be very passive. They didn't listen to what he said. They went very aggressive. They didn't go into the middle and be assertive. They just said, oh, I'm going to emulate him. I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to do everything he says. He never told you to act like him. He said, act like a man, question everything, get to the gym, eat right, become the best version of yourself. He never said, be me. Never in one of his videos. And a lot of people hate him. I don't give a fuck. I like the guy. That's the programming that so many people are. These young men and older men, I'm coaching some guys in their goddamn 30s, and you think, like, I'm like, I don't, okay. But anyway, they're so hungry for somebody to tell them what to do that I could tell you to go put dog shit all over you. And some of these guys will if they think it'll help. They're not listening. So the whole point of what I'm saying is you have to take stock. You have to understand where you came from. You might not be rich. That's fine. You might not be really good looking. You might not be even in shape. These are things you can fix. If you can fix these things or get on your way to fixing them, you're already fixing your frame. Again, don't listen. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to people like Andrew Tate. Don't listen to, or look at what they do. They're trying to tell you, this is how I got to where I am. These are the things that you need to do to level yourself up, and it's up to you. So you never want to agree. See, basically what you did is you agreed and entered his frame, and now you're trying to copy him. You never want to copy somebody. You want to be authentically you and develop your unique traits, because every one of you guys and girls watching this are unique. Develop them and create the best version of you, because there's only one of you.
Well, that's the thing too. One thing that you could do to really be clear on these things, because this is all like, it's all surface level stuff. Like it's not surface level stuff. It's deep down in there, and it's hard to identify these things. Like when you ask somebody, what are your values? Money, time, honesty. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's really what it comes down to. Like, they just don't know. It's not obvious. And it's not something that's going to come to the surface of your mind and like allow you to write it down. Like, this is going to take time. You're going to have to write this down again and again and again. Start journaling. Start talking about this stuff every single morning. Write a letter to who you were 3 years ago. What would you tell yourself 3 years ago with the situation that you were in then to get out of that situation, to overcome it, right? If you start to get really clear on those things, you start to understand what really matters to you. And once you start to understand what matters to you, you just base your value system on that. Once you have your values figured out, you can start to attack your beliefs. Okay, what do I believe? How is it holding me back? Do I believe that money is evil? Do I believe that money is bad? Do I believe in religion? Do I believe in God? Do I believe that I am capable? Do I believe I am skilled enough? That kind of stuff. And that's really what all this comes down to. Just write all that down. Do you believe this? Do you believe that? Be loose with it. Just lay it all down. Go buy a whole new notebook for this and just start writing. And over time, you're going to become more and more clear. I promise you, if you don't start writing it down, if you just leave it all in your head and you keep it up there and you just keep mulling over it, it's going to fade. Go away. It's going to fade. You're going to come to a conclusion, it fades. You come to a conclusion, it fades. You come up with an idea, you want to take action, it fades. It's just part of being human. You have to write things down. You have to schedule things. You have to put dates to things. You have to hold yourself to it. That's the first step in being a man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another good thing to do, I was doing this. There is a member on school. I'm not sure if he's watching this, but he reached out to me and he kind of told me, basically listening to him, nothing is going right in his life. And it was a whole thing of this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong, and that's wrong. And I didn't want to get into it too much with him, but I gave him one exercise to do, and I'm waiting to see if he did it. I want you, very simple, for the first 3-5 minutes in the morning, I want you to write down everything you're grateful for. And the reason why I bring this up is you need to first figure out what is working in your life. What are you grateful for? Because you might think you're a complete piece of shit and there's nothing good about you, but that's just your negative thinking, because everybody dwells more in the negative. We all value losing $60 more than we value gaining $60, all of us. would just program more in the negative. So you have to break that programming. It's a very simple thing you can do. If you're feeling like this, and this ties into your frame, every morning, I don't care if every morning it's the same thing you write down every day. I don't care. Get your head in a space where you practice gratitude. I'm grateful for my health. Maybe your parents are still alive. I'm grateful that my mom's still alive. Maybe you hate your dad. I'm grateful he's still alive. I'm grateful for the lessons he taught me on things not to do. Maybe you have a kid you haven't talked to in a while. I'm grateful my DNA is pushed out into the next generation, even though I don't talk to the kid. Practice gratitude. Once you can do that, it actually centers you for the whole day. Of course, shit's going to come after you. Of course, problems are going to come. But you start the day with an era of gratitude and an era of grace about you. And then you can kind of attack this day and be more of at peace. And the more at peace you are, the more you're automatically programming your frame. Like, listen, okay, there's shit I need to do, but I have a lot more than I really thought because I wrote it down that's really going well for me. I'm in great health. Yeah, I lost my job, but I know a lot of people who make a lot of money and they're chronically sick, or maybe they're battling cancer. I don't have that problem. So you all have wins in your life. You need to celebrate those and honor those wins first. You do that 5 minutes a day. That's it. It takes you 5 minutes. As soon as you wake up, don't jump on Facebook and see how everybody else's highlight reels and then you're pinning your sorry ass to their bullshit made up highlight reels. Don't do that. Wake up, stretch, whatever the hell you do. No social media, just start writing. And then do the exact same thing at night. What I want you to do is every good thing that happened to you that day. Now, there might not be any good things that you think, but take a day or two and practice this. There's always good things that happen to you. If you can go to sleep on a high note and realize, okay, I helped this old lady across the street, or I let this lady who only had one thing at the grocery store and I had a cart and let her go first. That's a good deed. Right. Write all those down. So now you're waking up and you're developing a positive mindset and you're going to sleep on a high note. People think I'm nuts and I tell everybody, do this, do it for a week and you'll never stop doing it because it centers you both ways.
And you notice this when people first get into the programs and stuff too, like in any coaching program that I've ever been a coach in or ever been a part of is they'll ask you for your wins. Like, what were your wins this last week? Every Friday, everybody, like, what were the wins this last week? What'd you guys do well? And I think that like most of it just is crickets all the time. Like people don't like to come in and celebrate. Or they see somebody else come in and they're celebrating these huge milestones. Like I signed 10 new clients this week. I'm making $100,000. I made $800,000 this week, $800,000 week. I see this stuff all the time. And it's like, it doesn't really, for me, it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. I'm like, okay, what am I really grateful for? What am I really proud of that I did this last week? And at the same time, like it's what's meaningful to you. Did you lose 5 pounds this week? Are you trying to lose weight? Did you get up at 5 a.m.? Like at least 2 or 3 days this week. Dude, those are wins. If you're not social, go ask somebody at the grocery store for the time. Celebrate that. If you do it, if you went out of your comfort zone and said, okay, what's up? What's the time? Do you have the time? You're going to be a little awkward at first, but it's having that courage to get out there and get over that because that's what builds confidence. You cannot build confidence without courage. It just takes experience. You have to do something again and again and again until you're very certain of what that outcome is going to be because it's happened so many times. You're like, dude, if this happens and that happens and this is the case, this is what's going to happen. It's like when you're trying to build your testosterone and stuff like that too, which is another big part of this. Like I would recommend that you really focus on building up your testosterone as much as possible. But you can't build testosterone unless you're moving, unless you're trying to be actively about your diet, which means that comes down to your value system now. Do you value your health? Do you value eating well? do you eat like crap? Because I promise you, if you don't eat more protein, if you don't get the right vitamins in your system, if you're not really supporting yourself, yeah, of course you're not energized. Of course you feel sluggish. Of course you don't feel like you have a drive or motivation because you're not living to your values. If you want to have energy and you want to go to the gym, you have to eat well. You have to do it. You have to put in the time. That's what it comes down to. And so it's being all about those values. That's how you identify those things. And then being proud every time you do. I don't have to go to the gym for freaking 2 hours a day, 5 days a week starting out, man. Like if I can just get outside and go for a walk, if I haven't been doing anything for a while, I'm like, sure, maybe it's 2 minutes, but dude, I can be proud of that. You can celebrate that. You don't have to go from 0 to 100.
Yeah. And even that, thinking about it in those terms, you're changing your frame because you're changing your belief. So again, if your belief, maybe you're programmed that, let's just use a good example. Maybe both of your parents were smokers and they were overweight. And you believed as I get older, I smoke and older people are overweight. That's a belief you have. And maybe you are a smoker and overweight. Well, why did you believe that? Because that's what you saw. Do you want to change it? Sure. Well, then you have to change your belief. I believe that I can quit smoking. I believe that I can get healthy. What can I do to change the belief? Chase said, well, you know what? I can go outside and I can go for a walk around my neighborhood twice. I can start with that. Then I can do it 3 times. You start changing your beliefs. You start changing your habits. You can start changing your life. It's all about your beliefs. And that is part of your frame. What do you believe? Also, what do you value? You might value, your frame changes as you get older too, or it should. You might value when you're a young man going out and drinking and chasing women. That's part of your frame. That's what most guys, that's what they value. They value their friendship. They value womanizing. I mean, that could be part of it. That's part of your frame. As you get older, you might value one woman. You might value getting into a relationship. That's part of your frame. So whatever you value, generally speaking, like attracts like. So if you value drinking all the time and bitching and complaining to your friends, guess who your friends are? The same people who are drinking, bitching, and complaining, because like attracts like. Both of you guys have the same frame. Your group has the same frame. That's why you like each other. That's why when you are a multimillionaire, you tend to hang out with multimillionaires. Now, I'm not saying you ever dish your friends. You might have a friend who just doesn't really make money. You're not going to unfriend them, but like attracts like. So those frames, those alpha men are going to stay in the pack together. And so they want to uplift each other. Like attracts like. Same thing with dating. If you have a high value woman, like attracts like. She's going to look for a man who has the same frame as her, a high value man. She's not going to deal with some dude drinking every weekend at the bar.
That's why she's going to shit test you too. Like they just do that naturally.
Yeah.
This is why you have to have a strong frame when you're dating. If you don't come into dating with a strong frame, you're screwed. Like you're going to fail. It's not going to end the way that you want it to.
Yeah.
She's going to shit test you based on her value system.
She will. And so you have to ask yourself very simply, right now, whatever age you are, what do I believe? And like Chase said, you actually need to write this stuff down. And it might sound weird and foreign, but what do you believe? Write everything that you believe down and then ask yourself, who told me this? I believe at 30 you should be married. Who told you that? Well, society, my mom, my grandmother, all of this. Start developing who told you. Were they an enemy for you, or did they just not know? Were they just trying to give you their perspective? You have to understand all this. And then ask yourself again, another piece of it, what do you value? If you go to our school program, we have a course to find out what your top 5 core values. Most people have 10. It's really your top 5 that drives all of your behavior. We have a course that you can take. It's a test. It takes about 20 minutes, and it'll tell you what your top 5 core values are. And that says so many things about you, okay? For instance, one of my core values is staying healthy. I enjoy going to the gym. Now I've fallen off. I'm back now, but I've fallen off about a month or so. I'm kind of like, you know, but I always felt like, okay, I got to get back into the gym. I had a really good couple of weeks and I feel like I'm back and I feel amazing because that's one of my core values that I'm honoring to myself. That's one of the things that drives me, that I value that part of me. I told you guys not too long ago, I used to smoke. And part of it was I had a guilt about it because I wasn't honoring that core value of being healthy. I knew in the back of my mind at some point I could get a heart attack, COPD, I smell, my girlfriend probably doesn't want to kiss me, all of this, but I kept doing it. And it's till I understood the baseline reason why I did it. Once I understood that, guys, I'm telling you, I stopped that day. I don't think about it at all. It's part of my testimony.
I went through the same thing with drinking too. I quit drinking. Like I used to love beers. Like we used to do these lives, and I would want to, like, first thing immediately after the live, go get a beer and just unwind. I'm like, Friday, man, it's cool. We're done with the week now. Let's go. And like, just go get the beer and go. What I came to realize was, like, that was the thing that was keeping me from doing things. Like, that was the thing. Like, I didn't want to get up the next morning.
Yeah.
It would bleed into the next day and the next day and the next day. I would lose 5 days just because I decided to go out and drink one night. Mm-hmm. And I got sick of it, man. I'm like, I want to be all about my path and my purpose. I really want to get to where I'm going. I really want to achieve the goals that I'm after. And if I want to do that, I have to live a different life. Like, I just have to be a different person. Yeah, dude, it's uncomfortable at first. Like, it sucks. Looking at the alcohol in the fridge and be like, nah, not going to do it. Or even like watching other people smoke, like you smell it, you're like, oh, like when you're first stopping, like, it's kind of hard to like see other people do it, especially with weed. Weed is one of the number one things. When you try to quit that, if you smell it, like, you're immediately like, I want to go smoke weed. Like, immediately. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. And so that it takes a long time to overcome that.
Let me ask you, because you said you smoke cigarettes too. When you smell cigarettes, does it make you want to have one?
No, it immediately irritates me.
Some people I've talked to, when they're ex-smokers, they love the smell. When I smell it now, I cannot believe I used to smell like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, dude, I smell like shit on a 90-degree day in a drawer full of bad underwear. It was horrible. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? But anyway, we're getting off topic. But all of these things will help dictate and help move your frame. It's your beliefs, it's your programming, and it's how you interact or your perspective of the world. So if you have a shitty perspective of the world, you probably have a shitty frame. If you have a positive, that's another thing we want to talk about real quick. We're running out of time. Having a positive mental attitude. And this directly ties into having that 5 minutes a day. What is working? What am I grateful for? It's going to shift you into having a positive mental attitude. Hopefully, you can keep adding to that bucket every day. Nobody wants to be around a negative Nancy. Nobody wants to be around a Karen. They want to be around a guy or girl who's positive, not goofy, but positive. They say, look, things aren't going great, but you know what? I'm grateful. I'll get through it. Things are going to get better. Have that positive attitude. That's a strong frame or a stronger frame. If you keep having those little wins, you get that little sail up underneath. You do a little bit more, you do a little bit more, and eventually you know who you are because you've been through enough shit. And this is the end of what I wanted to talk about. A lot of people have weak frames, just haven't been through a lot of shit because they whine and bitch and complain about the opportunity. They call it a disparity. I call it an opportunity. My girlfriend dumped me. I call that an opportunity. Why did she dump you? Well, I drank a lot. I didn't listen to her, and she was basically my mom. That's an opportunity to learn. Yeah, well, she should have left you. Some guys, because they have such weak frames, they don't learn from this. They go find another girl just like her. She dumped me too. You're not learning, okay? All of the setbacks in your life are opportunities. Don't view them as setbacks. View them as opportunities to learn. I did something wrong, because it was my fault. Everything is your fault. How can I get better so that this doesn't happen again?
No, that's the
You
thing.
can get to
I
that.
approach it with excitement. That's the thing. I get excited when that stuff happens because now I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that before. Now I know that. Now I can carry that into every single thing I go into from now on.
Yeah.
So like I've experienced a lot of that, like a lot of times too. And like it changed me fundamentally moving forward because I decided to stop, like, okay, why did that happen? What happened? What did I need to learn from that?
Yeah.
And the more that you kind of look back at that, it's not a negative. Nothing is negative. Like you can look at the universe or God. They bring things into and out of your life.
Yeah.
And if you're in a situation that isn't serving you, it might not be obvious to you right now. And so that person breaking up with you, leaving, you going somewhere else, whatever happens in your life, you losing your job. Maybe somebody cut you off in traffic and maybe it slowed you down 30 seconds and somebody else was going to basically plow right into you, right? So you never know why certain things are happening. So you have to look at everything with a positive disposition and say, okay, that happened for me, not to me. Everything happens for me and not to me. And I get, like I said, I get excited about that stuff because that's information that I didn't have before. Now I have that and I can carry into every single situation I move into from now on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is a journey, obviously, to be a man. Nobody's born this way as men. I always tell, even I tell my kids this, as a man, we have no value. There's zero value in men, but women are different. Their value is based on their beauty. They have inherent value, but they also need to develop a strong frame too, because as a woman, if you guys are watching this, if you have a weak frame, you're going to get run over just like a man. So guy or girl, this entire episode is for both of you. Everything that we discussed applies to both of you. Getting into the gym, having that journal, everything that is going good for in your life. Understanding and appreciating what I call an opportunity, you call a setback. It's an opportunity to learn. Yeah, it might suck, might be a setback and it sucks, but it is an opportunity. Understanding all this, understanding that you are always at the cause of your life, good or bad. If you take extreme ownership in your life and you understand, yep, I fucked up. Well, how did I fuck up? She cheated on me. Well, I apparently fucked up. I picked the wrong girl from day one. She cheated. I should have known these signs.
And that's the opportunity to start over. Like that's the point now too. Now the next relationship you get into, leave her. Like there's no reason to stay in that situation.
Right.
Get out of it. Just pull the Band-Aid off. Like you're going to waste years of your life if you don't. I promise you. We have other videos on that topic for sure. Yeah. But like realistically, in the next relationship, now you know, okay, if I start slacking on this, if I don't go to the gym, if I'm not all about my path and my purpose, if I let her into my frame, I let her break my boundaries, that's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you just don't do that in the next relationship.
Right. But that's all I got. We've done a ton of videos on frame. Go back into our YouTube. Like 80% of them all center around social dynamics, which is frame. And then today we introduce you what's called frame control. I have a video coming out. It's like 10 techniques that I'm going to teach you guys on when somebody does something, how you can deflect it or understand why they're doing it, and what's the best way to combat their aggression. Because remember, all frames, and when you're competing against a frame, it's still an aggression, no matter what you call it. Cute girl you want to talk to, she's throwing a shit test at you. It's still aggression. She's still aggressively trying to shit test you and make sure you're at least semi-strong. So you have to understand that. That video is coming out probably in a week or two. I just did it today, so by the time it gets edited and all that stuff. But we're going to do a lot of videos on what's called social dynamics or relationship dynamics, because if you can really hone in and understand this, the rest of your life makes sense. Okay, because we're all social creatures, so it probably makes sense to be as socially aware as possible around everybody else around us. That's all I got on this subject. What about you?
Yeah, I just dropped some tips in the chat over here too. Like, we didn't have time to cover all that stuff today. These are large topics for an hour, obviously, but things that I would recommend to you: raise your standards first and foremost. Stop commenting on Instagram models' pages. Stop telling them how beautiful they are. Stop validating their beauty altogether. Just don't do that. Yeah. You need to raise your standards. Like, that's one thing that would fix a lot of things out there. We wouldn't really have as many beta males and as many simps if they would just raise their standards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing for women too. Raise your standards. Be above that. Don't go start an OnlyFans page. Don't sit and look for validation from men either. If men and women would both raise their standards in that way, we would fix the world overnight. Like a lot of things would happen, man. Set boundaries. Everybody needs boundaries. You need to understand when something irritates you, pisses you off, something you don't want to happen. You don't want to put yourself in certain situations. Set boundaries, especially if you're trying to be on sobriety and stuff too. Like you got to set boundaries with your friends. I don't drink. I don't do that anymore. I don't smoke. Please don't offer it to me. I would rather not go to the bar. Can we go do something else? Can we go fishing? Something like that, right? Those are part of your boundaries. That's part of your values. Values and boundaries are similar. Your boundaries are based on your values. Your boundaries ensure that people around you follow your value system. That's really what it comes down to. And the thing is, too, is if they don't want to follow it, it's cool. Remove yourself from the situation. You don't need to be there. And so that's really what don't just go over your plow over your boundaries. Don't let other people plow over your boundaries. That's a major part of this. Be purpose driven. Be all about your purpose. Be driven for your future and don't let anybody get in the way of it. And then from there, control your emotions. Be non-reactive. Be as non-reactive as you can be. Don't let people push you. If you don't want to be pushed, don't let them push you. It's that simple. It doesn't mean you need to show up aggressively or anything like that. It just means that you're going to control what happens. You're not going to let them piss you off. Like when somebody cuts you off in traffic, you immediately get pissed off. Not control that, man. Just pull it back a little bit. Or when she's shit testing you, don't get pissed off and take offense to everything. Let it go and be like, no, okay, it's fine, dude. Don't worry about it. Just be non-reactive in every situation. Control your emotions. Make confident decisions. Make more decisions. When somebody asks you what you want to eat, throw something out there. You're never going to be dissatisfied with the solution. Like maybe I want this and maybe I want that. That's women stuff, man. They can't decide what they want. They can't make decisions. They look to you for that. That's part of masculine frame. Make more decisions. Get out there and just make quick decisions and learn from it and then make better decisions, but make fast decisions. Make as many decisions as you can. That's a big part of this. And then from there, be unshakable. Like I said, don't let people get you off your path and your purpose. Don't let people overstep your boundaries. You are unshakable and you will stick to it no matter what. And if people don't respect it, you remove yourself. They can't talk to you. They don't get your time and attention. That's all it is. From there, be self-aware. Like truly understand yourself when you're alone. If you've always been with somebody and you're in kind of a codependent relationship, you need to go be alone for a bit. Like you really, really should try, if you can, even separate for 6 months or something along those lines. Don't go be with anybody else. Don't go date or anything. It's really understanding yourself. What do I like? What do I want to do? Who the hell am I really? You can't really decide that and figure that out when you're around other people. You need to understand who you are alone and be self-aware. From there, have an abundance mindset. There are billions of people out there. You can make new friends. You can find new jobs. You can find new girlfriends. There's an abundance of everything. You can make more money, do more things always. And so you always have to have that abundance mindset in every single facet of your life. From there, establish clear values and principles, which is one thing we talked about a lot in this. Build physical, mental, and emotional health. Don't just focus on the physical. Don't just focus on eating right. You need to focus on your brain too. That's part of journaling. That's part of doing this and trying to rewire and reprogram yourself. You really need to have that positive disposition. From there, find a clear purpose that drives you. And then step up and lead the others around you. Once you get so far, you lead everybody else. Like, hey, dude, I know exactly this is what you're going to do. At the same time, when people give you advice, take the advice that works for you and leave the rest. That's really what even with stoicism, take what works for you and just leave the rest. It's okay. You don't need to be 100% this or 100% that. Do what works for you. And then increase your testosterone. Really focus on increasing your testosterone. Like that's the man chemical, man. That's what makes you more manly. So the more testosterone you have, the better, the more you're going to really hold those boundaries and hold that frame too in every single situation. But that's all I really have for you guys today. We talked a lot about a lot of things. And so if you guys really want to get started on these different things, if you want us to help you come up with it and establish core values, we have a lot of tools and resources that can help you. Most of them are available inside of that school community for just $7. And if you can't take the self-guided approach through that and get through all the content that's there, well, then you can pay us for coaching and we'll make sure that you do it. We'll provide you the accountability. We'll make sure that you actually create a map establish these things and get there. And we will bug you every single day about it because for some people, that's what works.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all we got today, man. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll get back at it next Friday on another topic.
Exactly. Have a good weekend, guys.